Let's move on. It is time for our Euros cheat sheet. And Owen, take it away. Group A.
Yeah, so what we're going to do here over the next little while is we're going to go through all 24 teams. We're going to have a little chat about them. But most importantly, we're going to give you all the information you need very quickly to be able to bluff on your WhatsApp group, to be able to pretend that you know what you're talking about when it comes to these teams. So what we're going to do is we're going to give ourselves 90 seconds only to go through each of these teams. We're going to start with Group A. We're going to start with Turkey. Let's get that timer going. So the Turkey national football team, a little bit like the flip phone, all the rage in the noughties, but have faded into obscurity ever since. Have not been in a World Cup since 2002. We know what that feels like, although they did get to the semi-finals of that World Cup. We have no idea what that feels like. Since then, it has been a wasteland for Turkish football. According to Wikipedia, apparently they got to Euro 2016. I don't believe that for 1 second. I did forget to mention Euro 2008 there. As we see on screen, they went all the way to the semi-finals that year after scoring a heap of late goals. In qualifying for this year's tournament, they took 4 points off France and conceded fewer goals than literally everybody else in Europe during the campaign. That's because they've got Ozan Kabak at the heart of their defence. They've got Demiral of Juventus at the heart of their defence. And of course, they've got Kaliar Soyuncu at the heart of their defence, who is an outstanding centre-back and the greatest Lord Farquaad lookalike to ever played a game. They've also got Hakan Calhanoglu, who's one of their main players in attack with AC Milan. He's an unbelievable player. In front of him, they've got Burak Yilmaz, who we heard commentary of a couple of weeks ago. He's playing for Lille. He's been their top scorer in Ligue 1 this season. Bit of a Benjamin Button. He's 35 years of age. And then, of course, outside of him in attack, they've got the likes of Cengiz Under, who is really good, I promise, even though we haven't seen him play for Leicester City all season. So, can Turkey do it for their nation? Can they do it for Salt Bay? Can they do it for their football-loving President Erdogan, who we are going to cut to playing a little bit of football here because he's an absolute superstar himself. This is him at a charity match, kicking a ball around, and wait for it. Boom.
Oh,
Erdogan, not an absolute top talent. Keep an eye out for the players as well, who might give him the old military salute if they go deep into this year's
The keeper
tournament.
saved it. Don't save the Erdogan shot. Oh, there's the salute.
So, yeah, football intrigue, political intrigue. That is the Turkey football team. Failed miserably to keep that within 90 seconds, but we'll give it another lash.
What's the form line like in the tournament, heading into the tournament for them?
Like, really good, as I say. Defensively, they've been excellent. Like, this is in a weird place, this European Championships, that we've already started the World Cup qualifiers for the next campaign. So if you look through their World Cup qualification group, it was always going to be a little bit of a tough one for them because they've got Netherlands and Norway in their qualifying group. But they've beaten them both already. They've had a couple of friendlies in 2020 outside of that as well. They drew 3-3 with Germany and Croatia. And, like, I mean, it's all about what they can do after they get out of the group, because I would absolutely expect them to do that.
OK. You've given us all the players to watch. Anybody else?
Like, I mean, the players to watch, I've kind of gone through already, but Ergan Kakir, their goalkeeper, is somebody that Chelsea had an eye on last season when Kepa was crumbling and they went for Edouard Mendy instead. He's playing for Trabzonspor still at the moment. He's being linked to everybody around Europe. Expect him to have a big tournament, expect him to pick up a few names, but they are missing players as well, like Cenk Tosun, who we would know from the Premier League, is injured, and he's got a couple of terrible injuries over the past couple of seasons. He's going to be out until October and November, so he ain't going to play a part. He was their top scorer in qualifying, but they've got Yilmaz, the man, the 35-year-old, scored a hat-trick against the Netherlands not too long ago.
Yeah, and that goal that he scored, that we were talking about with Philippe a couple of weeks back, so absolutely sensational. So he is in sensational form. What is the official OTB AM Euros prediction for Turkey?
I think they're going to get to the quarterfinals. I think they're going to finish second in their group. I think they're going to beat Denmark in the last 16, and then they are going to lose to the Netherlands in the quarterfinal. That is how I see it going for Turkey this year. But
it'd be a pretty 50-50 game against the Netherlands, though, right?
Netherlands obviously would have been a lot of people's favourites a couple of months ago, well, about 8 or 9 months ago, until Virgil van Dijk got injured. So that changes everything. That changes the entire spectrum of where Liverpool's season's gone. So why can't it change the entire spectrum of where the Netherlands are at?
I think Turkey would take that right now. They'd bite your hand off.
Absolutely, I think they would. So, like, this is like, if you want a hipster team, if you want a team to get on the bandwagon of and say, hey, I was all on board the Turks long ago. This is the time to get on board Turkey. I think they put behind themselves a really bad decade. They've got this incredible recruitment strategy that they've changed now in Turkey, like where previously they would be quite dependent on a lot of Turkish players who'd left and were playing around Europe, especially when it comes to people living in Germany and had grown up through the academy systems in Germany. Whereas now I think they've got like 11,000 kids through the Besiktas Academy alone, which is just dotted throughout Istanbul. They've got Altintop, who's like looking after the under-21 setup and looking after a lot of the youth teams, I think, in the Turkish Football Federation. So they've completely changed how they're looking at it, and they've got a really good young squad. Obviously, a lot of players playing in Serie A, as I mentioned there a moment ago. So they're still dependent on a little bit of an export market, but it seems that they've got like their 80 million population in line to actually turn this into a well-oiled football machine, because they have been perennial underachievers since 2002, 2008. And like even when we think about 2002, it was a massive shock, really. They got lucky. Like I'm trying to think that group, because they played Brazil in the semi-final. They played Brazil in their group stages as well. But I think it was like Costa Rica and China who were the other teams in that group, and then they had Senegal, and then they had Japan, or maybe the other way around.
Senegal, Japan, Senegal, yeah.
In their knockout games, and then they get to the semi-finals.
They had Japan in a World Cup where, you know, it was hard to beat the host nations, as we saw. Well, in fairness, they beat Japan and they beat South Korea, because they did end up winning the third place playoff against South Korea that year. But maybe the refereeing wasn't all in on South Korea in the third place playoff. Maybe they also viewed that as the bronze medal as not too important. So they got that, and then obviously it was just insane, the Euro 2008 performance from them, where they just kept scoring in injury time. I think one of the games was a late equaliser in like the 121st minute to take one of the games to penalties, if I recall correctly. And they're their two peaks, but like it feels that they were both overachievements and massive shocks. Whereas should a country with the size of Turkey actually be looking at it from that perspective? Should they not be like, we deserve to be in the quarterfinals at World Cups pretty regularly? I mean, I remember when we were kids, we would routinely expect to beat Turkey whenever we played them. The one thing about being a hipster's choice, I mean, obviously you just need to familiarise yourself with the fairly horrific political situation there. And the fact that, that's the other thing here, that as I kind of mentioned at the end, is the politicalisation almost of this team, where all the players did that military salute in 2019, I think it was definitely pre-pandemic, in one of the games where, as we saw on screen, all the players lined up. And UEFA, I'm not sure if they actually took punishment on him at that time, but they certainly condemned any sort of military salute, because obviously there was invasions into northern Syria from Turkey around that time. Erdogan, a questionable figure to say the very least. And within the squad then, there has obviously been players who aren't comfortable giving the military salute, and that has led to a little bit of unrest, nothing mad within the squad, but a little bit of unrest down through the last couple of years. Then you've got like the crazy situation with Hakan Şükür, who is their top scoring player of all time in Turkey, who would have been a vocal opponent of Erdogan, criticised him on Twitter. Erdogan responded by taking legal action against Şükür, and now I think he's living in America in exile. Like, that is their top scorer ever for Turkish football. So, like, there won't be politics in every single preview for this, but I think there's one country that are inextricably linked to the leader of their country, and it is Turkey. That 2008, by the way, is the Euros. That was the they scored in stoppage time to win against Switzerland in the second group game, and they came from 2-0 down in the last 15 minutes with 2 goals in the last 3 minutes to beat the Czech Republic to go through from the group. So it was pretty heroic stuff. You can see how people will get behind that team. Right, Italy, let's move on. You've got 90 seconds, cheat sheet to the Euros for Italy.
Okay, I got to do this one better. 90 seconds, let's go. 100% record in qualifying. Only Turkey conceded fewer goals in them. So Turkey play Italy in the first game. Expect this to be a 4-0 all draw in Rome to get things underway. Of course, Italy didn't qualify for the 2018 World Cup, which seemed on the outside looking in like a bigger tragedy for Italian people than the eruption of Vesuvius in 79 AD. Their last memory from a major tournament then was this: Simone Zaza stepping up like a pony to the penalty against Germany at Euro 2016. That has been on loop for them for the last 5 years, again and again and again. Now, a lot of things have changed since then, but a lot of things have stayed the same. Chiellini and Bonucci are still playing international football, and funnily enough, you've got to go back to 79 AD to find a game where the two of them didn't start at the heart of Italy's defence. But Buffon is gone. His international career is over. This will be the first tournament since Euro 2000 where he won't be starting in goal for them, but it is another Gianluigi. It will be Donnarumma. He's 22 years of age. It is his first major tournament. Manager-wise, Roberto Mancini is now their manager. He took over in 2018, has not lost a game since 2018. He did sign a new deal this week, though, until 2026, which is definitely going to go wrong at some point for him. And one of his main challenges over the next couple of weeks and months before the Euros is to find Italy's free-scoring nature again. They were brilliant in 2019. They scored 9 goals in their last game before the pandemic. But since then, they haven't managed more than 2 goals in a single game. On paper, though, their attack looks well stacked. They've got Chiesa, they've got Immobile, who's having an unbelievable couple of seasons with Lazio. In midfield, it's going to be Jorginho, Verratti and Nicolo Barella. They are well stacked, these stupid, sexy, talented Italians. And they are going to go all the way, according to some people, a dark horse at the very worst.
Okay, so players to watch?
Players to watch. I've kind of gone through a couple of the midfielders there. Just watch out on Verratti. Like, as I said there, he's obviously an unbelievable player and he is everything to Italy. But PSG have said that he's out for the rest of the league season. It is an injury to his knee. So this is going to be touch and go, I'd imagine, all the way up till Italy's first game. If Verratti is out, Italy are going to struggle to get past the quarterfinals, I reckon. If he is there, they can beat anybody in this tournament. You look at the defence, as I say, Chiellini and Bonucci may well be the starting centre-backs when we actually get there. But we could see Bastoni, this 22-year-old who plays for Inter. Transfer market have him valued at 50 million quid. He could definitely come in and get significant minutes. We're going to see Florenzi on one side of the defence for sure. And maybe he, alongside Donnarumma, are the only two that are actually properly locked in on this Italian defence, because I know Chiellini's been missing a lot of the season through injury. You look at that midfield, the midfielders that I mentioned, outside of them, we could see, if we actually start with the attack, outside of Immobile, we could see Belotti, the 24, 25-year-old from Torino this season. I know they've had a poor enough year battling relegation in Serie A, but he's scored 13 goals for them. There was a thought that he could actually challenge Immobile for that number 9 role. And then we could also have Berardi in attack. This is a 16-goal scorer for Sassuolo this season in Inter or in Serie A. He's more of a right winger, but he's a specialised right winger, so maybe that'll get him into the starting team. Chiesa, though, as I say, is probably going to have that position. And then, as I say, that midfield, which is absolutely stacked with talent. Nicolo Barella is going to be possibly one of the breakout stars at this year's Euros. He's been brilliant at the heart of Inter Milan's midfield all season.
You've sat on the fence a little bit. You've given yourself lots of wiggle room.
A lot of wiggle room.
With your prediction. So, what's your prediction? What is actually going to happen?
They're going to top this group. Then they've got, according to what I'm looking at here, a pretty easy round of 16 draw where they'll have either Ukraine or Austria. I think it might be Ukraine. Then it'll be Belgium in the quarterfinal. So I'm going to put my neck on the line here and say Belgium will beat Italy in the quarterfinal. If Verratti is out, it'll definitely happen. Even if Italy are fully loaded, I think Belgium will beat them. But if they win that quarterfinal, if they beat Belgium as we expect, it will more than likely be a semi-final against France, 15 years on from the Zidane headbutt. So there will be plenty of incentive for France to embarrass Italy as much as possible on that night. So plenty of narrative if they actually do end up getting past Belgium and into the semi-finals.
All right. I was at that game.
Yeah?
I missed the headbutt.
Oh yeah, you said this before. How did this happen?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I was too busy looking at the crowd going, why are you guys all so angry? And then apparently there were replays in the stadium, but I didn't see them. Anyway, sure, look, what are you going to do? We've started our Euros cheat sheet in Group 1. We did Italy and Turkey yesterday. Who have we got today?
Oh, we've got Wales, our favourite sporting nation. You know, our beloved people in Wales. We get on great with Wales, and please, can you tell us how you can be such a success at football and such a success at rugby at the same time? It is quite amazing. So the Six Nations champions obviously didn't qualify for the last major football tournament because of James McLean. They are back in the Euros for the second consecutive time, though, finishing behind Croatia but beating Slovakia and Hungary to second spot in their qualifying group, conceding only 6 goals in the process. Euro 2016, which we'll all remember, was Wales' first European finals, and it was genuinely funny that they got further than England, even though they lost to England in the group stages. Hal Robson-Cruyff, as we saw on screen there, got the freedom of the valleys after his goal against Belgium put them into the semi-finals, and Robson-Kanu performed another turn last year, this time coming out of retirement to come back to Wales. Chris Coleman was the manager back then. He's gone on to bigger and better things, like getting the lead role in Sunderland Till I Die. Robert Page is going to be their manager this summer. Ryan Giggs has obviously stood aside. And a big part of his job is going to be getting a tune out of Gareth Bale. He only scored 2 goals in qualifying, but hasn't scored since. Let's not forget that he scored a goal in every single group game at Euro 2016, so getting him on song is going to be key. The good news is that they played 2 of their group games in Baku, not a golfing stronghold. Finally, let's have a look at their home kit. I know nothing about what constitutes a good football kit, but I'm going to go ahead and say that that football kit is nice. And the away kit, let's have a look at that. My expert opinion on this is that it is nice and it is yellow. So there you go. That is Wales. There we go. Beautifully in 90 seconds.
Yeah, right. Yellow for the daffodils. Is that what the yellows come from? I don't know. But those kids are cool. I have to say,
nice.
They are cool. And, you know, isn't it exactly the type of tournament that Gareth Bale will come alive? Is Gareth Bale currently fit? He's not playing much football. He's being well rested by Spurs. Very nice of them to pick up whatever portion of his salary they're picking up, and also to not be flogging him in advance of the Euros.
It is very nice. I like my disclaimer on all the kits, because we got a text in yesterday to say, why aren't we doing the kits? I mean, it was a very valid point. My disclaimer is that I sometimes look at a kit before a World Cup or Euros and I'm like, wow, that's lovely. And then I see on Twitter or I see in WhatsApp groups, everybody's like, that kit is horrible. So
yeah, you back yourself, Owen. You've got style.
But people, no, I don't. But people at home know that I don't have style. I will at the same time be giving my expert opinion on whether or not these kits are nice or not. Wales, nice kit.
Okay, Wales in the same group as Turkey, Italy and Switzerland. That's a tough group.
It is certainly. So let's go through their form. After qualifying, they went into Ireland's Nations League and won every single game, as you remember. Except, of course, for the one game they didn't win, which was a 0-0 draw in Dublin. A brave performance from Ireland, but they have been promoted on that front. Since then, they've lost to Belgium in World Cup qualifying, but they've beaten the Czech Republic in World Cup qualifying. And in between those games, they beat Mexico 1-0, who at the time of that fixture were ranked 9th in the world. If we have a look through some of the key players, Gareth Bale, who I've obviously mentioned. Outside of him, Aaron Ramsey is the name that probably comes to most people's lips immediately. He's had a poor season with Juventus. Juventus in general have had a poor season. Talk that he could be let go for as little as £10 million this summer. There's actually talk that Liverpool are in the mix for him. Arsenal would certainly take him back, I think. Wales won't mind, though, that he's had a poor season, because it looks like he's going to be fit going into this year's tournament, which is a big deal, because the Welsh squad have been ravaged with injury. Joe Allen did his Achilles tendon early in the season. Now he's injured his hamstring. He hasn't played enough for Stoke all season. Ethan Ampadu, who's played mostly in midfield rather than centre-back for Wales, he's also injured. He's going to be touch and go, if you listen to what Paul Heckingbottom has been saying over the last couple of weeks.
It is the final Euros cheat sheet of the day. Who's left? Switzerland.
Yeah, Switzerland. Let's get our 90-second timer going on the Swiss team, who are back at another tournament where they will inevitably crash out at the group stage or in the round of 16. Nothing memorable has ever happened to Switzerland at a major tournament, with the exception of the last World Cup, where Granit Xhaka and Xherdan Shaqiri almost started another Balkan war. They eventually lost to Sweden in the round of 16 in Russia, and in France in 2016 they lost to Poland, also in the round of 16. So they finished top of Ireland's group in qualification in a campaign that feels like it happened in the 1990s. Despite surrendering a 3-goal lead to Denmark and a 1-goal lead to David McGoldrick, they still topped that group, despite having scored fewer goals than Denmark and conceding more goals than Ireland. Now, picking a star player from this team is a difficult task. Granit Xhaka has only been intermittently awful for Arsenal this season, so maybe he's going to be a big player. Xherdan Shaqiri, meanwhile, is obviously the other big Premier League star in the team, but quite how he will recover from an arduous season where he played a full 90 minutes on 2 occasions, well, that certainly remains to be seen. We'll finish by looking at the kit. We've showed it to you there. This is the home kit. My expert opinion on this one is that it is red and it is nice. Let us have a look at the away kit. As we can see, it's got pink, purple, maroon and green stripes in the middle, symbolising the country's 4 languages, which are German, French, Italian and Rhaeto-Romanic. And thus concludes today's fashion show. And would you look at that? I've managed to do Switzerland in less than 90 seconds. What a surprise. So much to talk about when it comes to Switzerland.
Okay. Is there? I mean, they keep getting out of their group tournaments, though.
Every second tournament. I think you've got to go back to the World Cup that they hosted in the 1950s to find a tournament that they actually got to the quarterfinals in. So if they don't get knocked out in the round of 16, they get knocked out in the group stage. That tends to be how it goes. Like they've been good over the last little while. Like results-wise, like you can look at Swiss results and always say that they've been good. Like they've got draws against Germany and Spain in the Nations League. They're in Group A in that, so they're playing quite a high standard of opposition. Mm-hmm. They survived, they didn't get relegated. They also had Ukraine in their group. They beat them 3-0 on the last day, but they only beat them 3-0 because the match did not happen. Ukraine got a massive COVID outbreak and the game was forfeited, and Switzerland got the 3-0 win and they managed to survive in League A. In their World Cup qualifying so far, they've beaten Bulgaria and Lithuania. They've also played Finland and they've beaten them. And they've got a couple of friendlies before the Euros where they play Liechtenstein and the USA. So they'll have their tails up going into the tournament. Is a nice thing I can say about Switzerland.
Prediction?
Prediction for Switzerland, I don't think they're going to progress from the group. I think that they're looking at Turkey and they're looking at Wales as teams that they can beat. But again, I'm picking Turkey to be the team that go through with Italy, and I don't think the third place team are going through. So either Wales or Switzerland are going to come third, but I've got a feeling that they're both going to be disappointed.
Okay, so you predicted today that both Wales and Switzerland will finish third. I like the...
Okay, let's call it... Okay, Wales to finish third, Switzerland to finish fourth.
Okay.
Calling it.
Can we get your thoughts on the highly controversial in the shirt community away shirt of Italy? If we can get that image back up. So this is highly controversial white shirt with the word Italia in the middle of the chest. It's Puma. They've got the Italian flag. It must be the Italian Football Federation, and 4 gold stars over for the 4 World Cups. And what do you think of this, Owen?
Well, to quote from people who know what they're talking about, Puma have launched a new Italy away kit that will be used this summer at Euro 2020 and beyond. Inspired by the Only See Great platform, the German brand reaches beyond the status quo to innovate and craft a new creative direction for the Italy away kit, blurring the lines between football and fashion. Indeed, those blurred lines between football and fashion are the reason why I love sport so much. So there you go, there's the Italy kit. We didn't do the Turkey kit either yesterday, which was an absolute sin, because look at this. The Turkey kit is gorgeous. Is it? Well, actually, is it? Is this the sort of thing we're supposed to say is nice? You see, this is where I get confused when it comes to football shirts. That football shirt looks distinctly different. So do we automatically give that points? Or is it the fact that it actually looks kind of a bit tacky, 2 different shades of red? Does that count against it? Like, can somebody just give me tips on how to judge a football kit? Because I don't know if that's nice or not. I know that it looks different. But I can easily see people who know better than me saying, that's gorgeous, and other people saying, what are you talking about? That's awful. I don't know.
Just think of it like a music track, Owen. How does it make you feel?
Can we stick that up again?
Can we get the Turkey one? Yeah, give us the Turkey one there. How does it make you feel, Owen? Feel this kit now. Feel it. Close your eyes and feel that kit.
It feels exotic.
It looks a bit like vulcanized rubber across the man boobs, doesn't it?
Yeah, vulcanized rubber on the man boob is a prerequisite for all modern football kits.
It's a bit Berghain, isn't it?
Actually, yeah, it's good. That will be the sort of thing that will get you into Berghain in 2042. Like, that'll be a really crap retro kit down.
I don't think you're getting into Berghain in 2042. Owen.
Oh no,
I hate to break it to you now.
I'm talking about one. I can't get in there now. I've never, I don't stand a hope now, despite how well dressed I am and how cool and flash I am. So down the line, if you are interested in going to a Berlin nightclub, that is a jersey for you. I often wonder if people who wore retro jerseys when they weren't retro and they actually came out actually knew how nice they are, because obviously every retro jersey now is class by all accounts.
Okay.
We've gone down a wormhole here. We didn't get to Switzerland's key players, but who cares?
Okay.
It's
obviously
the mood
out there. You mentioned them. You ask us you tell us about their key players, but you've already told us about their key players. Are there other key players?
I would say that there are other key players. A couple of players. I would say we've played in Switzerland. We know what to expect from Switzerland. The 2 Premier League stars are the ones that will stand out. But I would say Breel Mbolo, who's obviously played against Ireland a couple of times. He's been playing with Mönchengladbach, has got Champions League experience. Watch out for him. And then also watch out for Haris Seferovic, who is in the habit of scoring a lot of goals. He scored 20 for Benfica this season. But his international record isn't great. He has scored 2 in his last 3 games at international level. So himself, Shaqiri and Mbolo up front. Is that semi-exciting? Does that push you to actually root for Switzerland a little bit?
No.
I think not. I think this is the team that people probably want to see knock it out of Group A. And I'm sorry to all our lovely Swiss viewers who are no doubt with us this morning.
Okay, OTB AM live in association with Gillette. Good morning. Start with Gillette, giving you the confidence tackle of the head.